All right, Marcus. We've talked about a lot of controversy moments in sports, but today we're diving into what I honestly believe is the single most egregious, most blatant, and frankly, most infuriating decision in the history of amateur boxing. We're talking about the 1988 Seoul Olympics, Roy Jones Jr., and that gold medal final.
Harrison, egregious is an understatement. Outrageous, disgraceful, a travesty of justice. Those are the words that even begin to scratch the surface. This wasn't just a bad decision. This was a mugging in broad daylight, witnessed by the entire world. Roy Jones Jr. versus Park Si-Hun, a fight that literally changed boxing forever, and not in a good way at the time.
Before we even get into the fight itself, let's set the stage for Roy Jones Jr. leading up to that final. He wasn't just good, he was a phenomenon. He was a complete package, a force of nature in that tournament. Undefeated, demolishing opponents with speed, power, and finesse. He was the future of boxing, and everyone knew it.
Absolutely. I mean, four opponents before the final, right? And not just wins, but dominant performances. He hadn't lost a round, barely broken a sweat. He was like a cheat code in human form. His previous fights were spectacles. He was doing things in the ring that amateur boxers just weren't supposed to be able to do. The hype was real. The talent was undeniable. He was a lock for gold.
Exactly. He came into that final against Park Si-Hun, the hometown hero, with an aura of invincibility. And then the bell rings, and the fight starts, and it's just more of the same, isn't it? From the opening bell, Roy Jones Jr. was in complete control. I mean, he was dancing, he was slipping punches, he was landing at will. It was a masterclass.
A masterclass is right. Park Si-Hun, bless his heart, he was there, he was trying, but he was completely outmatched. He couldn't land anything significant. Jones was peppering him, landing clean shots, combinations, moving in and out like it was a sparring session. It wasn't a competitive fight. At any point, if you were watching, you'd think, okay, this is going exactly as expected. Jones is cruising to gold.
What makes this so objectively indefensible, Marcus, is that we aren't just relying on eye test here. We have the numbers. The punch statistics from that fight are etched in infamy. Roy Jones Jr. outlanded Park 86 to 32. 86 punches to 32. That's not just a differential. That's a beatdown. That's a statistical massacre in a sport where every punch counts.
86 to 32. Think about that for a second. That's a 3-to-1 advantage in landed punches. In boxing, if you outland your opponent 2-to-1, it's considered dominant. 3-to-1 is unheard of in a gold medal final. And it wasn't like Park's 32 punches were power shots that buckled Jones. They were mostly glancing blows, or blocked. Jones was barely touched.
And it gets worse. In the third round, Jones landed 36 punches to Park's 2. 2! How do you score that round for the guy who landed 2 punches? You just can't. It defies logic, it defies mathematics, it defies the basic rules of boxing scoring.
You can't. It's impossible. And that's where the robbery part comes in. Everyone watching, from the commentators to the fans in the arena to the global audience at home, knew what was happening. We were watching a virtuoso performance. Then the decision comes in, 3-2, for Park Si-Hun.
Just saying it out loud still sends a chill down my spine. 3 judges out of 5 inexplicably voted for Park, 2 for Jones. The silence, then the collective gasp, then the boos. It wasn't just the American contingent who were outraged, it was universally condemned. Even Park Si-Hun himself looked stunned, almost embarrassed when his hand was raised. He knew he didn't win.
He knew it! He actually apologized to Jones later, Harrison. Think about that. The guy who was awarded the gold medal felt compelled to apologize to the guy he beat. That tells you everything you need to know about the legitimacy of that decision. That's not sportsmanship. That's an acknowledgement of a colossal injustice.
And the immediate aftermath was pure chaos. The American team lodged an official protest, which was dismissed, of course. But the controversy wouldn't die down. It couldn't. This wasn't a close call. It was an objective travesty. And that's when the investigation started, right?
That's when the curtain started to peel back and the ugliness came out. The International Olympic Committee's investigation revealed what everyone suspected. The judges who voted for Park had been wined and dined by Korean Olympic organizers. That's the polite way of saying it, Harrison. We're talking bribery. We're talking collusion. We're talking about fixing a gold medal fight on the biggest amateur stage in the world.
It's sickening, honestly. To think that athletes dedicate their entire lives, make incredible sacrifices, only for their dreams to be stolen by backroom deals and corrupt officials. It stripped away the very essence of what the Olympics are supposed to represent: fair play, athletic excellence, and honest competition.
Exactly. It makes you wonder how many other questionable decisions throughout Olympic history might have similar stories lurking beneath the surface. But this one was so obvious, so blatant, that it couldn't be ignored. The lopsided stats, the universal condemnation, the fact that even the winner seemed to know he'd been given a gift, it all converged.
And it wasn't just a brief scandal. This event, this single fight, sparked international outrage and eventually led to significant reforms in amateur boxing. The scoring system was changed. They went from the old round-by-round points to a computerized punch-counting system to try and eliminate this kind of subjective and clearly corrupt judging. It was a direct response to the Roy Jones Jr. robbery.
A necessary evil, in a way. It's a shame that it took such a monumental injustice to force change, but change it did. Though, as we know, even those computerized systems had their flaws. But the intention was to prevent another Seoul 88. It became the gold standard, ironically, for what a boxing robbery truly means. Anytime a fighter gets a bad decision, people reference Roy Jones Jr.
It truly became the benchmark, and for Roy Jones Jr., it was a moment that could have broken a lesser man. But instead, he went on to have one of the most incredible professional careers in boxing history. 4-division world champion, undisputed champion, pound-for-pound king. He proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he was indeed the better fighter, the true gold medalist of that tournament.
He took that injustice and he channeled it. He used it as fuel. And that's commendable. But it doesn't erase the stain on the Olympic legacy, does it? It doesn't erase the fact that he was robbed of that moment, that medal, that recognition on the amateur stage. It's a part of his story for sure, but it's a dark chapter for sports in general.
It really is. And you know, looking back, the arguments for Park Si-Hun winning, they just don't exist. There's no legitimate boxing authority, no credible analyst, no statistician who can look at that fight and say, yeah, Park deserved that. It was a politically manipulated scorecard, mathematically indefensible.
I've tried, Harrison. I've genuinely tried to find a defense, to put myself in the shoes of those 3 judges, to see it from a different angle, and I just can't. You'd have to completely ignore the fight itself, ignore the punch stats, ignore the fundamental principles of how boxing is scored. You'd have to believe that a fighter who's outlanded 3-1 is somehow more effective or more aggressive, which is just absurd in this context.
Right. It wasn't even a style point situation where maybe one guy was technically brilliant but didn't land as much. Jones was both technically brilliant and landing significantly more. Park was just trying to survive. So the only conclusion, the only logical conclusion, is that external factors were at play. And that's what the IOC eventually confirmed, even if they didn't overturn the decision.
And that's the kicker, isn't it? Even with the evidence, the decision stood. Because once you open that Pandora's box, where do you stop? How many Olympic decisions do you go back and review? So for the sake of stability, the injustice was allowed to stand. But it came at a huge cost to the integrity of the sport and the games.
It really did. It's a harsh reminder that even at the highest levels of amateur sport, corruption can rear its ugly head and steal dreams. But it's also a testament to human resilience, isn't it? Roy Jones Jr. didn't let it define him negatively. He overcame it, soared to even greater heights, and left no doubt about his greatness.
Yeah, he did. He showed the world what a true champion looks like, even when he's had his moment stolen. The 1988 Seoul Olympics will always be remembered for that shocking decision. But it's also a story of a legendary boxer who refused to be defined by a corrupt system. And that, I think, is the lasting takeaway. You can rig the scorecards, but you can't rig destiny.
Well said, Marcus. A truly unforgettable, if frustrating moment in sports history. And one that hopefully continues to serve as a stark warning against anything less than absolute integrity in competition. Thanks for revisiting this with me.
Anytime, Harrison. This one needed to be talked about. Again and again until we never forget what happened that day. Until next time, everyone.